I'd been hauling freight across this great big country for nigh on a decade, my life ticking by one truck stop at a time. The road was my home, long stretches of asphalt, the hum of my rig's engine, and the crackle of the CB radio keeping me company. I'd run everything from frozen beef to car parts, crisscrossing state lines, chasing delivery deadlines. My old Peterbilt, a 2008 model with 1 million miles on her, was my partner in it all. She wasn't pretty, but she was reliable, until she wasn't. It was a Tuesday, I reckon, somewhere in the flat middle of Ohio. I was hauling a load of steel beams to a construction site when my rig started coughing like a smoker after a 3-pack day. The engine sputtered, and the gauges lit up like a Christmas tree. I nursed her off the interstate, barely making it to a dusty little shop in a town called Millersburg. Ain't much to the place, just a couple gas stations, a diner with greasy coffee, and this repair shop that looked like it hadn't been painted since Reagan was president. I pulled into the gravel lot, the brakes hissing as I shut her down. The mechanic, a wiry guy named Dale with a gray beard and grease-stained hands, popped the hood and gave it a look. "Fuel pump's shot," he said, spitting tobacco into a coffee can. "Gonna take 2 days to get the part in. Maybe 3 if the supplier's slow." I cussed under my breath. 2 days stuck in Millersburg wasn't my idea of a good time, but I didn't have much choice. Dale said he'd get to work, and I left my rig in his hands, trusting he'd do right by her. Standing there in the lot, I scratched my neck and thought about my options. I could have holed up at the motel across the street, one of those places with thin walls and a vending machine for dinner. But then it hit me. I was only an hour from home. My wife, Jenny, was back in Canton, probably doing her usual routine, working at the library, making her famous meatloaf, maybe watching one of those crime shows she loved. We'd been married 8 years, and with me on the road so much, I didn't get to see her near as often as I wanted. The thought of surprising her, maybe taking her out for a burger or just sitting on the couch together, warmed me up inside. I hadn't been home in 3 weeks, and the idea of a night in my own bed, well, that was too good to pass up. I grabbed my duffel from the cab, slung it over my shoulder, and called a buddy who owed me a favor. Mike, a local driver I'd met at a truck stop a few years back, lived about 20 minutes away. He was a good old boy, always ready to help out. I gave him a ring, and sure enough, he said he'd swing by and give me a lift to Canton. While I waited, I wandered over to the diner, grabbed a coffee and a slice of apple pie. The coffee was bitter, but the pie was decent, flaky crust and all. I sat at the counter, watching trucks roll by on the highway, their headlights cutting through the dusk. My mind was already on Jenny, how her eyes light up when I walked through the door, how she'd probably fuss about me not calling first. Mike showed up in his beat-up Ford pickup, the kind with a toolbox in the bed and a bumper sticker that said, "Keep on truckin'." I tossed my bag in the back and climbed in. "You're lucky I ain't got to run tonight," he said, grinning as he shifted into gear. We shot the breeze on the drive, talking about fuel prices, new emissions rules, and how the industry was changing faster than we could keep up. The hour passed quick, and soon enough we were rolling into Canton, the streetlights glowing soft against the evening sky. Mike dropped me off a block from my house, not wanting to spoil the surprise with his loud exhaust. I thanked him, shook his hand, and started walking. The air was cool, smelled like fresh-cut grass from some neighbor's yard. My boots crunched on the sidewalk as I headed toward our little house on Maple Street. It was a simple place, nothing fancy, but it was ours. Or mine, really, since it came from my folks' inheritance. I pictured Jenny inside, maybe reading one of her novels or humming to herself while she cooked. I checked my phone, 7:42 p.m. Perfect timing. I'd walk in, drop my bag, and give her a big hug before she could even say a word. The thought made me smile as I turned the corner, ready for a night that'd feel like a little slice of normal in my road-weary life. My boots hit the pavement steady, and I was already thinking about the look on Jenny's face when I'd walk through the door unannounced. It had been a rough week, but the thought of surprising her kept my spirits up. I rounded the corner onto our street, the streetlights casting long shadows, and that's when I saw it, my brother's car parked in my driveway. It was his blue Chevy Malibu, no mistaking it, with that dented rear bumper from when he backed into a pole last summer. My stomach did a little flip, not the good kind. Tommy, my younger brother by 3 years, wasn't the type to just drop by. We got along fine, sure, but he lived across town with his wife, Karen, and their 2 kids. He didn't come over unless there was a reason. Christmas, a barbecue, or maybe to borrow my socket wrench. Seeing his car there, squatting in my spot, set my nerves on edge. I slowed my pace, my boots scraping softer now, like my gut was telling me to pay attention. I told myself it was probably nothing. Maybe Jenny's car wouldn't start. She'd been complaining about the battery last month, and she called Tommy to give her a jump. Or maybe the furnace was acting up again. It had been on the fritz since winter. Hell, maybe she just needed help moving something heavy, like that old dresser she kept saying she wanted to rearrange. But the more I thought about it, the less those ideas sat right. Jenny was the independent type, always had been. If something was broke, she'd call a repairman or figure it out herself before bothering family. And Tommy? He wasn't exactly Mr. Fix-It. The man could barely change a tire without a YouTube tutorial. I stopped at the edge of the driveway, staring at his car. The engine was off, no lights on inside, and the hood was cool when I brushed my hand over it. He'd been here a while. My mind started spinning faster. Was Jenny hurt? Was there some kind of emergency? I fished my phone out of my pocket, half expecting a missed call or text from her, something saying, "Hey, Tommy's coming over. Don't freak out." Nothing. My last message from her was from yesterday, a quick "drive safe" with a heart emoji. I shoved the phone back in my pocket, my jaw tightening. Something wasn't adding up. I stepped onto the driveway, my boots crunching on the gravel, and headed for the front door. The house was dark, no glow from the living room or kitchen windows, just the faint flicker of a streetlight reflecting off the glass. I fumbled with my keys, the weight of my duffel suddenly feeling heavier, like it was anchoring me to the spot. I told myself to calm down. There was a simple explanation, had to be. Jenny was probably just in the kitchen, pouring Tommy a coffee, the two of them laughing about some dumb family story. I'd walk in, they'd be surprised, and we'd all have a good chuckle before I sent Tommy on his way. I turned the key in the lock, slow and quiet, not wanting to spoil the surprise. The door creaked open, and I stepped inside, my eyes adjusting to the dimness. The air smelled faintly of Jenny's lavender candles, but there was something else, a stillness that hit me wrong. I stood there holding my breath, waiting for the sound of her voice, maybe Tommy's too, joking or arguing about something. I expected to hear the clink of dishes, the hum of the fridge, or even the TV blaring one of her crime shows. But the house was quiet, too quiet, like it was holding its breath right along with me. I set my duffel down by the door, careful not to make a sound, and took a step toward the kitchen. My heart was thumping now, louder than it had any right to, and a cold prickle ran up my neck. Something was off, and I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever I was about to find wasn't going to be the happy surprise I'd been hoping for. I stood frozen in the dark of my own house, the silence pressing in like a weight on my chest. Then it came. A noise from upstairs, sharp and unmistakable. Not words, not laughter, but a scream, a raw, desperate sound that hit me like a punch to the gut. It was coming from our bedroom, up the narrow staircase I'd climbed 1,000 times. My heart kicked into overdrive, hammering so hard I thought it might crack a rib. I gripped my keys tighter, the metal biting into my palm, and took a step toward the stairs. The scream came again, higher this time, followed by a lower, guttural sound I couldn't place. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it. Was Jenny hurt? Was someone up there with her? Tommy's car was in the driveway, but this didn't sound like a rescue mission. Every instinct screamed at me to charge up there, but something, maybe fear, maybe dread, kept my feet moving slow, deliberate. I slipped my phone out of my pocket, the screen glowing bright in the dim hall, and held it tight, like it was a lifeline. The stairs creaked under my boots, each step louder than I wanted. I kept my weight on the edges, where the wood was less worn, trying to stay quiet. The noises didn't stop. Another scream, sharper now, mixed with a rhythmic thumping that made my stomach churn. I knew that room, knew every inch of it. The bed was against the far wall, the window overlooking the backyard. If someone was up there hurting her, I'd have to act fast. But the closer I got, the less it sounded like pain. It was something else. something that twisted my insides in a way I couldn't name yet. I hit the landing, my breath shallow, the air thick with that lavender candle smell, and something muskier I didn't want to think about. The bedroom door was at the end of the hall, cracked open just a sliver, enough for a thin stripe of light to spill out. The sounds were louder now, unmistakable, a mix of gasps and cries that made my knees weak. I crept forward, my boots silent on the carpet, my phone still in my hand. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. Call the cops, maybe, or just hold on to it like it could protect me from whatever was behind that door. I stopped a foot from the doorway, my heart pounding so loud I was sure they'd hear it. The screams had settled into a pattern, punctuated by low moans that weren't Jenny's voice. I leaned forward, just enough to peer through the crack. The light from the bedside lamp cast shadows, and what I saw stopped my breath cold. Jenny was there, her hair wild, her body moving in a way that wasn't right. Not with me, not in our house. And Tommy, my own damn brother, was with her, his hands where they had no business being. My vision blurred, like the world was tilting, but I couldn't look away. My thumb hovered over my phone, shaking. I didn't think, didn't plan, just pressed the button to open the camera, like some part of me knew I needed to see this later, to prove it was real. The screen lit up, framing them through the crack in the door. My chest burned, my throat so tight I could barely swallow. I wanted to yell, to bust in and tear them apart, but my feet were glued to the floor. All I could do was stand there watching my life crack open, the sounds from that room carving into me like a blade. I kept my phone steady, recording, as the truth of what I was seeing sank in deeper, each second making it harder to breathe, harder to think, harder to believe this was my wife, my brother, my home. The sounds from the bedroom, those sharp gasps and low moans, kept coming, each one like a nail in my chest. I couldn't move, not yet, but the phone stayed steady, capturing every second of the betrayal unfolding in front of me. They didn't see me, didn't hear me, too caught up in whatever they were doing to notice the world falling apart just 10 feet away. My heart was racing, my breath shallow, but I kept filming, like it was the only thing keeping me from losing it completely. The screen glowed bright, framing them in harsh clarity. I zoomed in just a touch, not sure why, maybe to make sure I wasn't imagining this. 20 seconds in, Jenny's head turned, her eyes catching the light from the hall. She froze, her body going stiff like she'd been hit with a stun gun. Her gaze locked on the door, on me, and for a split second, I thought she'd scream again, but not like before. This was fear, plain and raw, like she'd seen a ghost. Tommy didn't notice, not at first, still moving, oblivious. I kept the camera rolling, my hands steady even as my insides churned. I started talking, low and quiet, my voice sounding like it belonged to someone else. "So this is what's going on when I'm out working," I said, the words bitter on my tongue. "My wife and my brother, huh? Real nice." Jenny's eyes widened, her mouth opening like she wanted to say something, but nothing came out. Tommy finally caught on, his head snapping toward the door. He scrambled, pulling away from her, his movements jerky and panicked. I didn't flinch, just kept filming, my phone a barrier between me and the mess in front of me. "Don't stop on my account," I said, my tone flat but sharp enough to cut. "I'm getting all this for the family album." The room went dead quiet, the only sound the faint hum of my phone as it recorded. Jenny was clutching the blanket now, her hands shaking, her eyes darting like she was looking for a way out. Tommy was half-turned, like he couldn't decide whether to face me or bolt. I took a step closer, pushing the door open wider with my boot, the hinges creaking in the silence. The camera caught it all, their frozen postures, the tension thick enough to choke on. "What, no explanation?" I said, my voice louder now, steady but burning with something I couldn't name. "Y'all got nothing to say?" They didn't move, didn't speak, just stared at me like I was the one who'd done something wrong. I stepped into the room, my boots heavy on the hardwood, the phone still up, still recording. My heart was pounding, but I wasn't about to let them see me crack. "What is this?" I asked, my voice low and dangerous now. "Cheating with a family member? My own damn brother?" The words hung in the air, heavy and final. Jenny's lips trembled, but she didn't say a word. Tommy opened his mouth, then closed it, his hands fumbling like he was trying to find something to hold on to. The silence was louder than any scream, pressing down on us all. I kept the camera on them, my thumb hovering over the stop button but not pressing it. Part of me wanted to smash the phone, smash everything, but I held it together, kept filming, kept talking. "This is going to be real interesting to explain to Mom and Dad," I said, my voice steady but cold. "Or maybe Karen. Bet she'd love to see this." Tommy flinched at his wife's name, but still, neither of them said a damn thing. The phone's counter ticked on, 40 seconds, 50, a minute, each second stretching the tension tighter, like a rubber band about to snap. I stood there waiting, daring them to speak, but all I got was silence and the weight of what I just walked into. I stood in the doorway, my phone still recording, the silence between us thicker than engine grease. My chest was tight, my pulse hammering, but I wasn't about to let this moment slip out of my control. I lowered the phone, thumbing the stop button, the counter frozen at 1 minute, 12 seconds. Enough evidence to burn this whole scene into my memory forever. I slipped the phone into my pocket, my eyes locked on Jenny, then Tommy, their frozen forms like statues caught in a spotlight. The air was heavy, charged like the calm before a storm rips through. "Jenny," I said, my voice low but steady, cutting through the quiet. "Get dressed, pack your stuff, get out of my house, now." Her eyes flicked up to mine, wide and glassy, like she was trying to process the words. She opened her mouth, maybe to argue, maybe to beg, but I held up a hand, shutting her down. "Don't. Just move." She hesitated, then scrambled to her feet, clutching the blanket like it could shield her from what was happening. Her hands shook as she grabbed clothes from the floor, moving fast like she knew I wasn't bluffing. I stepped back, giving her space to pass, my boots planted firm on the hardwood. She darted past me, her footsteps quick and uneven down the hall. I heard drawers slamming, the rustle of a bag being stuffed, the clatter of hangers in the closet. I didn't watch her go. I kept my eyes on Tommy, who was still sitting there, half covered, looking like a deer caught in headlights. "You," I said, my voice colder now, sharp enough to make him flinch. "Stay right there. We ain't done." His jaw tightened, but he didn't move, didn't say a word, just sat there like a coward waiting for the axe to fall. The sounds of Jenny's packing echoed from the spare room down the hall. Zippers, thumps, the occasional muffled sob. I didn't care. My focus was on the man in front of me, my own brother, who just stabbed me in the back in my own home. The tension was building, my hands curling into fists. I wanted to drag him out right then, but I held back, letting the seconds tick by, letting him stew in the weight of what he'd done. The house felt smaller, the walls closing in, every creak and rustle amplifying the rage burning in my gut. Jenny's footsteps came back, heavier now, dragging a duffel bag down the stairs. I didn't turn, didn't give her the satisfaction of a glance. The front door opened, then slammed shut, the sound echoing like a gunshot. She was gone. The quiet settled again, just me and Tommy now, the air between us crackling with unspoken words. I stepped closer, looming over him, my shadow falling across the bed. "You got one chance to hear this," I said, my voice low, every word deliberate. "Disappear from my life. Don't call, don't show up, don't even think about me. You do, and it won't end well for you. That's a promise." His eyes flicked up, searching mine, maybe looking for a way out, but all he found was steel. He swallowed hard, his throat bobbing, and gave a small nod, like he knew better than to argue. "Get up," I said, stepping back toward the door. "Get your stuff and get out. I don't want to see your face again." He moved slow, like his limbs were made of lead, grabbing his keys and wallet from the nightstand. I followed him down the stairs close enough to make sure he didn't try anything stupid. The front door was still ajar from Jenny's exit, and I shoved it open wider with my boot. Tommy stepped out into the night, his car keys jangling in his hand. He didn't look back, just walked to his Malibu, the dented bumper catching the streetlight's glow. I stood in the doorway, watching as he climbed in, the engine roaring to life. The car peeled out of the driveway, tires crunching gravel, and then he was gone, taillights fading into the dark. I slammed the door shut, the sound final, like locking away a piece of my life I'd never get back. The house was mine again, but it felt hollow, the weight of what just happened pressing down hard. My hand was still shaking, gripping my phone like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. That video, 1 minute, 12 seconds of pure betrayal, was burning a hole in my pocket. I stood there in the dark, my boots planted on the hardwood, my chest tight with a mix of rage and something colder, sharper. I wasn't just going to sit on this. They didn't get to do what they did and walk away clean. I was done being the guy who takes the hit and keeps quiet. I pulled out my phone, the screen glowing harsh in the dim light. My thumb hovered over the video, my mind racing. First, I opened my messages and found Mom and Dad's group chat. They deserved to know what their son and daughter-in-law had been up to in my own house. I attached the video, my fingers moving fast, no hesitation. "You need to see this," I typed. My jaw clenched so tight it hurt. I hit send, the little whoosh sound confirming it was gone. No going back now. Next, I opened my email and typed in Karen's address. Tommy's wife. She was a good woman, didn't deserve to be blindsided like I was. "Karen, I'm sorry, but you gotta know," I wrote, attaching the video again. Send. My heart was pounding, but it felt right, like lancing a wound. Then I went for broke. I opened my social media, the one place I barely used except to share pictures of my rig or a good diner burger. My fingers were steady now, fueled by something I couldn't name. I uploaded the video, no caption, no explanation, just the raw footage. I hit post, watching the little loading bar fill up. Then it was out there, public for anyone to see. Friends, family, old high school buddies, even the guys from the trucking company. They'd all know what Jenny and Tommy did. The second it went live, my phone buzzed, a notification popping up, then another, then a flood. I ignored them, shoving the phone in my pocket, my hands trembling with adrenaline. I paced the floor, my boots thudding against the wood, the silence of the house mocking me. The notifications kept coming, pings, buzzes, a relentless stream of calls and texts. I glanced at the screen. Mom, Dad, my sister Lisa, a couple cousins, even my old buddy Mike who dropped me off. Messages like, "What the hell is this? And you okay, man? And I can't believe they do that." I didn't answer, didn't have the words yet. My phone vibrated again. Karen this time, a text. "Is this real?" I typed back. "Yeah, I'm sorry." That was all I could manage. The weight of what I'd done was sinking in, but I didn't regret it. They'd made their choice. Now the world knew. By morning, my phone was a war zone. Dozens of missed calls, texts piling up, notifications from the post blowing up. I ignored it all and dialed my lawyer, Frank, a guy I'd known since high school who'd helped me with a contract dispute a few years back. He picked up on the second ring. "Frank," I said, my voice rough from not sleeping, "I need you to start divorce papers. Jenny's out." He asked what happened, and I told him I had proof, emailing him the video right then. "This is ugly," he said after a long pause, "but it's solid. I'll get the paperwork moving today." I thanked him, hung up, and sat down hard on the couch, my hands gripping my knees. The house felt too big, too empty, but I wasn't broken. Not yet. I'd aired their dirty laundry, and now the fallout was coming. Let it come. I was ready to face it, no matter how messy it got. 3 days after I sent that video out into the world, my phone rang while I was fueling up my rental truck at a gas station outside Canton. It was my old high school buddy, Steve, who worked at the bank where Jenny and I had our joint account. His voice was low, urgent, like he was calling from a break room. "Man, you need to know, Jenny's at the branch right now, trying to pull every dime out of your account." My grip tightened on the pump, the nozzle clicking as it filled the tank. "She's at the teller window, asking for a cashier's check," he added. "Thought you'd want to hear it from me first." I cussed under my breath, the cold Ohio air biting my knuckles. Steve owed me one from way back when I helped him move his mom's furniture after a flood. I didn't hesitate. "Freeze it," I said. "Lock the account down." "Can you do that?" He paused, then said, "Yeah, I can make it happen. Give me an hour." I thanked him and hung up, my blood boiling at the thought of her trying to clean me out. I finished fueling and climbed into the truck, my hands still shaking as I gripped the wheel. The nerve of her thinking she could just take everything after what she'd done. I checked my phone, still buzzing with messages from family and friends, all shocked about the video. My sister Lisa's text stood out. Mom and Dad are done with both of them. They're not welcome at the house anymore. I stared at the words, feeling a grim satisfaction. Mom and Dad were old school, the kind who valued loyalty above all else. Cutting Jenny and Tommy off was their way of drawing a line in the sand. I typed back a quick, "Thanks for the heads up," and tossed the phone onto the passenger seat, the engine rumbling as I pulled out onto the highway. By the time I got back to Canton, Steve called again. "It's done," he said. "Account's frozen." She tried to argue with the manager, but they told her she'd need your signature or a court order to touch it now. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "Appreciate it, man," I said, and he just grunted, like it was no big deal. But it was. That account had our savings, years of my long hauls, overtime, and scrimping. No way was she getting a penny of it. I pulled into a diner parking lot, my stomach growling, but my mind too wired to eat. I just sat there staring out the windshield, the weight of it all pressing down. Word was spreading faster than I expected. Lisa called later that evening, her voice tight with anger. "Jenny's social media's gone," she said. "Deleted everything. Facebook, Instagram, all of it. And I heard from a friend at the library she got suspended from work today. Something about conduct unbecoming after that video got around." I leaned against the truck, the metal cold against my back. "She got anywhere to go?" I asked, not sure why I cared. Lisa snorted. "Her parents' place, maybe. Nobody else is taking her calls." I nodded to myself, the news landing like a brick. Jenny's folks lived an hour away, in a rundown house with barely enough room for them. If she was headed there, she was out of options. The tension kept building, like a storm rolling in. Every call, every text, was another piece of the fallout. My cousin texted that Tommy's wife, Karen, had kicked him out after seeing the video. A buddy from the trucking company said people were talking about it at the depot, shaking their heads. Jenny's name was mud now, and Tommy's wasn't far behind. I didn't feel sorry for them, not one bit, but the chaos was starting to feel bigger than me, like I'd lit a match and the whole town was catching fire. I drove back to the house, the empty driveway a reminder of what I'd lost, but also what I'd taken back. They'd tried to break me, but I was still standing, and I wasn't letting them take anything else. I wasn't about to let the mess Jenny and Tommy left behind define me. The house on Maple Street, my inheritance from my folks, was in my name alone, and I decided it was time to cut ties with it. I called a realtor, a guy named Carl, who I'd met at a truck stop once, and told him to put it on the market. "Sell it quick," I said, my voice firm as I stood in the driveway, keys in hand. He didn't ask questions, just got to work. Within a month, the place was under contract, and I was signing papers to offload it. The money hit my account, clean and separate from the frozen joint one Jenny couldn't touch. I took that cash and bought a new place, a small cabin just outside Canton, close enough to town but far enough to feel like I could breathe again. I moved in with nothing but my duffel and a folding chair, ready to start over. The next step was getting myself right. I'd let the road life pack on extra weight, too many diner burgers and not enough moving around. So I signed up at a gym, a no-frills place with clanking weights and sweaty mats. I showed up every morning, pushing through deadlifts and treadmill sprints, my muscles burning, but my mind clearing. By 6 months in, I dropped 15 kilos, my belt needing new holes to keep my jeans up. The guys at the gym, mostly blue-collar types like me, gave me nods of respect, and that felt good, better than I'd expected. It wasn't just about looking better. It was about taking control, proving to myself I wasn't the guy who'd been blindsided. I wasn't done rebuilding. Instead of jumping back into long hauls, I saw a chance to do something different. I started a small business renting out my truck to local drivers, guys who needed a reliable rig for short runs. I handled the paperwork, set up a website using some online template, and spread the word through the trucking network. By the end of the first month, I had 3 steady clients, and the checks were coming in regular. It wasn't a fortune, but it was mine, built from scratch, and it gave me a purpose that didn't involve staring at highways all day. Then came Sarah. I met her at the diner near my new place, where I'd started grabbing coffee after gym sessions. She was a waitress, quick with a smile and a knack for remembering orders without writing them down. One morning I was nursing a black coffee when she slid into the booth across from me, her break just starting. "You're the truck guy, right?" she said, her eyes sharp but kind. We got to talking about her job, my new business, the way Canton winters hit harder every year. She didn't pry about my past and I didn't offer it, but there was something easy about her, like she got it without needing the details. We started meeting up outside the diner, grabbing burgers, catching a movie, simple stuff. She made me laugh, something I hadn't done in months. A year later, I proposed to her on a quiet night by the lake, just the two of us in a cooler of beer. She said yes, and we were going to get married in a small ceremony at the courthouse, just with family and a few friends. Lisa told me later that Mom had called Jenny's folks out of some old habit, letting them know about the wedding. Word got back to Jenny wherever she was, probably still crashing at her parents' place, jobless and cut off from everyone we knew. I didn't care how she found out, but I knew it had hit her hard, knowing I'd moved on, built a new life without her. That was the real cost of what she'd done. Not just losing me, but watching me come out stronger while she was left with nothing but her choices. The courthouse was buzzing with quiet chatter, our small wedding ceremony hitting its stride. Sarah's hand was in mine, her grip steady as the judge read through the vows. About halfway through, a loud bang cut through the air, the double doors at the back slamming open. Jenny stormed in, her hair a tangled mess, her eyes red and wild, like she hadn't slept in days. She started shouting, her voice shrill, accusing everyone of betraying her. "You all turned on me," she yelled, pointing a shaky finger at Mom and Dad, then Lisa, then the judge himself, claiming they'd conspired to ruin her life. The room went dead quiet, guests gasping, some shifting in their seats. Sarah's fingers tightened on my arm, her body stiffening. I leaned close and whispered, "Stay calm, I got this." My heart was racing, but I wasn't about to let Jenny derail my day. I stepped forward, my boots loud on the tile floor, and said, "Jenny, get out. You don't belong here." Her eyes locked on mine, burning with something desperate, and she screamed louder, "You can't just erase me." She lurched forward, knocking over a chair, the crash echoing as guests murmured, some standing, unsure what to do. I kept my voice steady, repeating, "Leave, now." She didn't budge, her shouts turning into a jumbled rant about fairness and lies. My patience snapped. I pulled my phone from my pocket, dialed 911 and told the dispatcher, "I need police at the Canton courthouse. My ex is disrupting my wedding." Jenny kept yelling, oblivious, pointing at Sarah now, calling her names I won't repeat. The tension in the room was thick, every second dragging as we waited. Two officers arrived fast, their radios crackling as they pushed through the doors. "Ma'am, you need to leave," one said, stepping toward her. Jenny swung her arm, knocking another chair over, but they were on her quick, grabbing her elbows and guiding her out. She was still shouting as they led her to the patrol car, the doors shutting with a heavy thud. The car pulled away, red and blue lights flashing. I turned back to Sarah, took her hand and nodded to the judge. "Keep going," I said. The ceremony picked right back up, and I vowed nothing would stop my new life from starting right. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever faced a situation where your brother and wife cheated on you? How did you deal with it? And if you enjoyed the ride, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.